ولن ترى عينك في الدنيا مثل سماء وتجري من تحتها.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for joining us on Pure Masculinity, and I'm your host, Abdul Kabir. In today's episode of the podcast, we have a special guest. Trust me, as always, I always bring you guys special guests. But this episode is quite different because, alhamdulillah, as Allah ordained, I have one of our teachers, our big brothers, in person of Ustadh Kabir Al-Asfar. So we have two Abdul Kabirs in the podcast today, but there is one that is greater Abdul Kabir, which is the Sheikh. I'll take Abdul Kabir Sagir, inshallah. So thank you for joining us, Sheikh. Alhamdulillah, I'm so excited to have you. I know how much it took to get you here out of your busy schedule, but alhamdulillah, we have you finally. So can you please kindly tell us a bit about yourself, your background, especially in the context of providing guidance on being an ideal Muslim husband? Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah.
My name is Ustadh Kabir Nasir Al-Asfar. The Al-Asfar seems to be a popular marker or a popular name, as the case may be. I currently work as a khatib, that's like a Jum'ah Imam, and the director of the center. My mosque is registered as an Islamic center, Al Jazeera Islamic Center, Baduri. I also am the director of the Clear Path Islamic Center. What else? So as regards being an ideal husband, I've been engaged in da'wah close to, from student days. But apart from our student days, I would be counting not less than a decade, but probably more. And of course, immediately you are involved in da'wah in the campus, right? You may not have to discuss issues of marriage that much. Undergraduates are usually unmarried, particularly in our own time. Even now, I don't think it's a thing that a lot of undergraduates should be married. So, but in our own time, it was also it was rarer, right, for undergraduates to be married. But immediately you leave the campus and you start talking to people, you're going to have a lot of things to do with marriages, a lot of experiences. To the point that even before I got married, you would have dealt with a lot of marital issues that would have given you a lot of experience apart from whatever you study in the books. So you get to experience different scenarios and different couples and how to navigate the rough terrain at times. It's not always rough at times probably just removing a stumbling block from the way for a peaceful relationship. And at times it can be very nasty and very so this gives you a lot of experience to be able to talk about marriages and masculinity and stuff of this nature. I hope that answers your question.
Sure, it does. Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair. And I can testify to the fact that, yes, you've been in the terrain of da'wah for more than a decade. Back in the days while we were in school during MSS, I remember we brought you for our Jihad Week in MSS and Lautech in around 2010-11 or thereabouts. May Allah preserve you for good. And we follow you on social media as well, as much as how you address contemporary issues, mashallah, Allahumma barik. So in your view, what are the qualities that define an ideal Muslim husband, both under the religious and interpersonal perspective?
Okay, so let me first talk about social media thing. So this is the beauty about podcast is the very free atmosphere which we should discuss. Probably a lot of people will not know this. When I opened my Facebook account, it was because I felt that what's Facebook all about? Because Facebook was a thing then.
Yeah.
It was a thing, right? So I said, what's this Facebook thing all about? And I opened it. In fact, when I opened it initially, I didn't use the Al-Asfar name because I felt that I would get popular easy, right? So I didn't use. I just used Kabir Nasir, right? So there was not, because that was official name.
No.
So at times it's important for you to understand the background behind your Facebook post. So it wasn't something that I did specifically for religious motives, but because religious stuff, seeking for knowledge is part of the thing you do on a natural, naturally on everyday basis. It began to reflect on the nature of my Facebook posts and things like that. So also, I started getting the opportunity to link up with brothers I've read about them on blogs and stuff like that. Before I knew it, it became something. The last time I checked, I had about 25,000 followers or so. So, but it wasn't intended to be like that initially, and I don't say anything big in it. So, coming to talk about, so I write about marriages at times. This is because I get more of this, particularly with this Facebook stuff. I get more of questions around marriages, around divorces, around custody of kids. And I also realized that, a lot of practicing Muslims in this part of the world, particularly Southwest Nigeria, picked up their from the campus. And on campus, the things that we are interested in is probably controversial issues, not even the deep discussions around creedal issues. There are controversial issues. And your fiqh may be so treated controversially that you would wonder that is it a fundamental of the deen? Like, take for instance, I know the time that placing your hand on the chest after the ruku, not it was war, brothers.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So these issues, or is that okay? Somebody authenticated a hadith that Sheikh Albani said was weak, or somebody said
or even traveling without the mahram.
How this back then.
Yeah.
So we don't, and then of course when you talk about marriage, the only thing that you tell people is go and get married, go and get married, go and get married. What comes after marriage is not usually entrepreneurship, earning, how to live your life. These things are not usually discussed. In fact, at times if you discuss money, somebody may look you after that. Look, you are this world is taking you away. So,
Subhanallah.
But it means that, and then it is very few, even till now, there are very few brothers who've taken up a fiqh book and read it from beginning to the end, right? What a lot of people have read is probably about Salah, right? Zakah, you don't find much expertise in it. That is even on issues of ibadah. Why now I'm talking about marriage? So you hear very strange things, right? In the absence of correct knowledge about marriage, divorce, and stuff like that, and this is probably the second biggest discussion in fiqh. Usually the biggest section of fiqh, if you take a fiqh book and you want to see the subject matter, solar purification takes the largest, right? Then it's either followed by buyo, which is transaction, or nikah. Most likely it's nikah because you have nikah, divorce, custody, and stuff like this. So in engaging people, we realize that there is a vacuum of religious knowledge as regards marriages. Now, because there's a vacuum, a lot of religiously conscious brothers, when they want to fill that vacuum, they fill it in from the angle of the natural masculinity found in their culture, right? And of course, in a marriage, you are not marrying men, you are marrying women. So women, as a reaction, and they also want to understand what are the rights of a woman in a marriage. They fill it in from their cultural angle. The cultural angle may not be sufficient because, of course, every culture, most cultures are patriarchal. Culture in Nigeria is patriarchal, and at times that patriarchy may be very extreme, right? So she's educated. She wants to fill in the vacuum of what are our rights and duties to her husband. She ends up taking up foreign ideologies like feminism, Islamofeminism, and all those stuff out there. So you read talks at times. She's not, and of course, even sisters do not have the same level of erudition in Islamic as men. So they talk from their emotion and then from things they've learned on the internet from different sort of people. Even who may be related with feminists. So you have this issue that what in itself constitutes an ideal husband. So it's likely when we talk about the ideal husband, we're talking about the word that comes to mind is a benevolent dictator. And then people may not it, but that is the way it is. But husband is a benevolent dictator. Of course, there are limits to his power. So what do I mean by benevolent dictator, right? Fundamentally, the Sharia requires that a man be nice to his household. This is not supposed to be disputed. Allah says, "Wa'ashikunna bil ma'ruf." Live with your spouses in the best of ways, right? And then you have the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how a husband should be. He would assert his authority in the home, but there is no even a weak narration in which the Prophet sallallahu raised his hands on his. And as Malik said, I served the Prophet sallallahu for 20 odd years about that. He didn't raise his even his voice.
Yes.
He would have said, okay, yeah, Anas, I will send you to do this and not do it. That type of husband he was.
No. Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Subhanallah, you're already even going deep into the hard talks, but we'll get there because I have some questions when it comes to that. Thank you for that beautiful response. And in the course of your response, you also brought up some things that are also very important for us to talk about. And that is the fact that in today's age, there is a lot of deception out there. Everyone is just trying to package themselves as the right commodity, right? Sisters are wearing niqab to attract brothers. Brothers are giving daily reminders on social media so that people will think that they are righteous or perceived students of knowledge. So the question is, what's the best strategy to unveil this mask that people wear on the screen?
Before I respond to that, number one, we need to understand that the way the world is, and this is my own subjective prediction, social media or the internet is going to take a very, very large chunk of our daily lives.
True.
I'm seeing the fact that a lot of marriages are occurring now through matchmaking sites. So it's not going anywhere. We just need to learn how to do it.
People are even doing nikah online too, Sheikh.
I actually survived one. The US is quite big. So there was a couple, they were in different states. I was in Nigeria. And then we had to do it online. Okay, anyway. So now, if I was talking to somebody online, this is a practical thing. It is very dangerous for you to go ahead with a marriage, even if you meeting online is not an issue. Meeting online is not an issue. It's about where we meet ourselves and how much we say about it. But before you actually go to the level of the act, you make sure you have done your due diligence. That is where the problem is. If the person is so far off that you cannot do due diligence, don't go ahead with the nikah. But if the person is within the realms of somebody that you can look up, ask him who his teachers are, ask him if his parents are involved, get to do all what is necessary. Ask people who know him, the type of person he is. Yes, then you can go ahead with it. But it is naive at times that is very, very negative and affects the individual negatively. So just say, okay, outwardly this guy has a beard, he posts about the Quran, the Sunnah, the Salaf, then I'm head over heels with him. Frankly, I've seen in the car where the sister realized that the brother was committing shirk. Not small shirk, I mean major shirk. And outwardly he presented himself as somebody who understood the Sunnah. So we can use the internet to get to meet ourselves, but when it's going to become something serious as marriage or finance, about marriage now, then you have to do your due diligence.
Jazakallah khair. Subhanallah. I wanted to ask something about the nikah online, like supervising the nikah online. I hope the brothers didn't come for you that from this fixed perspective that is that even valid.
Actually, I was even going to then the way Facebook was. It was on my mind to write a post about it. That look, it's not wrong in itself. I read fatwas then. There was an earlier fatwa that talked about the fact that nikah is a serious thing. It was not totally discouraging. You know, in those days it was phone. We didn't have all this sort of audiovisual stuff. So the argument of those jurists then who were against it was that, look, you have to know the person, you have to the wali has to be there, the witnesses has to be there and stuff like this. So I realized, okay, yes, it's not about the validity, right? It's about what measures have you taken to make sure that the conditions of acts are fulfilled. Now, it's very easy with social media. Like on Zoom now, I'm going to see the two witnesses.
Correct.
I'm going to see the, I may not see the wife, but I can hear the wife. Okay. And you say, yeah, okay, do you make the offer to the wali? All this is very easy now.
Yeah.
It's not from the angle of the validity of the act. It's very easy and it's valid. There's no problem. Allah.
Correct. I mean, Jazakallah khair. You know, we just have some brothers that want to be extreme. They just want to go too far in everything, and they'll tell you that is bid'ah. They'll say, Sheikh Al-Asfar, you're starting something new, you know. Well, thank you for that response. So let's go to this other question. You know, some men neglect their roles as chaperone, as the wali for their women. They pay less attention to their daughters or their wives, or those who are even under their custody as mahram, right? Can you please shed more light on the importance of this role of wilaya, the authority of a man over women?
Yeah. So it's twofold. Let's start from the fact that Allah SWT says that the husband is the shepherd of this household, his wives and children inclusive. Allah says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikumun nar. Protect yourselves and your household from the fires of hell. Right? So this gives the man the authority and responsibility to be the one in charge of his household. This also includes the wife, of course. Now, the wali has a lot of work to do, right? If he fails in this responsibility, Allah would ask him, we are all going to be asked about this. So particularly for our female daughters, we should be very concerned about them. Ask them, immediately your child becomes matured and is out there. It's something also that a lot of men don't take into consideration is this. Women are soft, right? The people would, whether you like it or not, people are going to come for them. So let them know, as you raise your child, let them know that, okay, look, if a man comes to you, and this is where we talk, this is what me and my wife tell our daughter, that look, if somebody comes to you, tell them to come to us. We're not going to say, no, we don't let anybody come to you. No, said, no. You can't take the decision. Tell the person to come to us. So then we would be the ones to assess this person. So it's a very serious thing. Apart from this, apart from this person being our daughter or our sister whatsoever, there are certain sisters that by virtue of their home, the society, maybe the father is not a religious person, maybe she became Muslim and the father is a kafir, and they would look for people they feel they trust, and they come to us that, okay, look, somebody wants to marry. I have students, their fathers are there, but they feel that, okay, look, help me discuss with somebody's proposing to me, let me discuss with him. This also is supposed to be taken as a sacred duty that Allah SWT asks us if we fail to do our duty accordingly. So because these people who give us they left themselves to us because of the trust they have in us, because they feel that, okay, these people are religious, they're not going to lead me astray. So it becomes an obligation of us to make sure that we have their best interests at heart. And may Allah SWT assist us.
Ameen. Jazakallah khair. That's beautiful. Because today, subhanAllah, a lot of parents are not really paying attention to their children. They just leave themselves to go navigate the murky waters of selecting a spouse, and at the end of the day, most times marriages don't really last. So while you were speaking earlier, you know, you made reference to something which is very important, whereby you say people just think about marriage, and that leads me to this question, whereby you find today almost everybody knows that hadith, that nikah is half of your deen, so fear Allah for the rest half of your deen. But sadly, this hadith has been misquoted severely, and brothers sometimes even use it to cajole women into marriage. And I've seen instances whereby, especially amongst the new converts, people just become Muslim and the next thing they tell us, sister, you have to get married. So please, can you kindly elaborate on this hadith for proper context?
Of course, when you say that nikah is half of our deen, it's not a negotiable thing, right? It's really half of the deen. And then the Messenger of Allah said, then you fear Allah about the remaining half. But the thing is this: the Sharia is wise, right? And very pragmatic. Now, if a man is going to get married, there's certain things you have to have, right? You have to have the financial background. You have to have the strength of character. because of course nikah would entail a lot of finances, and that is why I say you can't say that okay, men are in authority over women, and you don't have the financial wherewithal to back it up. Because one of the reasons that you are a qawwam is what you spend. Bima women and right? Now for women also, for sisters also, they always need men. When such men come to you, and they, okay, I wanted to particularly talk about this issue of reverts, right? You see, it wouldn't be bad to say they should get married, right? It's about the person they want to get married to. The reason why I say it wouldn't be bad is this. Take, for instance, somebody who has been in Jahiliyyah, who has had a lot of relationships, right? By high school, secondary school, she's already active sexually. Now she's Muslim. She doesn't want to go to zina, and she wants to satisfy herself. So nikah is a very good alternative, right? But it is who is going to marry her. That is where the issue is. Who are going to be the man who's going to marry her? You find men, Muslim men on the internet who would be throwing proposals at people just like that. At times, some just to be able to travel out and stuff like that. So what women should do now, and I want to tie it to what I said earlier, that women always need men. What women need to do is to look for an upright scholar or student of knowledge or imam in the community they are in who has an interest at, and then so say, ma'am, okay, this people are going to come around. Look, I'm from a river background. My parents don't even know what to look at if somebody comes to my hand in marriage. So how do I do it? I want you to screen these brothers as they come for proposals. That would at least one wise decision to take, right? Yeah. And then it would allow the imam, who probably has experience, particularly in that community, to be able to look at the people who are throwing in proposals and separate the wheat from the shaft. So I think it's the best way. We can't say they shouldn't marry because temptation is out there. We live in a hyper-sexualized environment, and then sex part and parcel of who we are. It's a natural instinct to be satisfied, just like food. So it's about looking at people who they are going to get married to, and making sure that it is a stable relationship. It's a relationship that is worthwhile.
Jazakallah khair. Yeah, I agree with you. The challenge is just that, here in the West, it's not like we see a lot of Muslims who really understand Islam and things like that. And this is like a normal thing when people become Muslims newly. The next thing is nobody's really giving that time to teach them the deen or to teach them the basic fundamentals. But the next thing is just you want them to get married. So, and sometimes some of these sisters get into this marriage and it doesn't really last. They just see at the end of the day, this man doesn't really have their interest. He just wants to satisfy his carnal desires. So that's a good point in the sense that
I've even heard some of them, they get badly dealt with by their spouse, and some would leave it. So unfortunate.
Yes, it's very unfortunate. There's a lot of things happening, Sheikh. There was one man one time who I saw on a show. There's this show called The Paternity Court, and there's one lady brought him there, and she was saying that she got to the hotel, she saw him with another woman, and he was claiming on the show, he said he's a Muslim, he's planning to have 4 wives. And he took them to the hotel. So this is the mentality. Some people, they don't understand Islam. You want to say, okay, you want to have multiple wives, and you want to be practicing threesome with them, which is wrong. So these are the things. A lot of people don't have a proper understanding of Islam, and they don't learn the deen, but they just want to enjoy the benefits or some of the responsibilities that are there, which Islam has put for men. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us. So let's go to one other important aspect of the conversation. I do have a friend who's going through marital challenges with his spouse. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ease their affairs and grant them a better understanding. So what the wife mainly complains about is that he's not communicating with her. That's her major complaint. And I understand that we as men, sometimes we can always be in our heads, right? So the question is, how important is effective communication in a marriage? And what strategy can Muslim men employ to enhance their communication with their spouses?
Now, so this is an area whereby one would need to. That is why it's important that this is the world we live in now. All this premarital counseling and stuff, they are becoming very important. At times, you find people who are opposites.
True.
Right? man is an introvert, woman is an extrovert. There's going to be problems. And if there are instances that the problem between them is a background. A man raised by a woman and a woman raised by a man. There will be issues unless they're able to sit down and discuss and understand, okay, a man raised by a woman would have feminine behaviors.
Subhanallah.
A woman raised by a man would likely have masculine behaviors. So the woman would look at him, what's wrong with this one? Why is it so soft? And so these are some of the things that we should actually look at, right? So we will need to sit the couple down and ask them that, okay, yeah, what do you mean by it's not communicating? And then what are you doing? If it is possible that the man changes and is able to adjust, and the woman also changes, understands that this is the type of person I married, right? Then it would survive. But if it's such that they are not willing to change, and this may also happen, and there may also be underlying issues, right? Marriages are complex things. That is why, of course, when we talk academically, but at times you probably need to hear from both couples or to ask a lot of questions. So I'll give you an example. Like if a couple comes to me and I ask the wife, she says everything, you can't point to something very tangible, right? You speak with husband, you can't point to something very tangible. The next thing my mind is going to go to is to ask them about the bedroom, right? Because oftentimes they will need to pull it out of them. Now look, you talk, and at times it may be the case.
Yes,
it may be the case that they had something troubling, something they don't want to speak about at the beginning of their relationship, and then
trauma.
Yeah, and then these other issues will just pile up. So if it is communication, right, we'll just let the man understand that, look, what does your woman consider to be communication? Is she saying that you should ask after me when you get back, when I get back home, or when you get back home, ask me how my day was, ask me how am I faring, how am I, listen to me as I talk. The Prophet was a very good listener.
Yes.
The Prophet sat down and allowed Aisha tell her the story of Abu Dhar. He was an attentive listener. He listened throughout, and then he was also a participant. And he said, "Look, I'm like Abi Dhar. I'm going to be like Abi Dhar. I'm going to be like Abu Dhar to you. Except that I will not divorce." He was a very good listener. He understood how women are. So the brother probably would need to be, if it's communication, trained to listen. And probably what she needs more is a listening partner. And then you don't need, of course, women would want to talk.
They will.
Right? So just listening and give a few words of encouragement. If you feel she didn't do well, tell her, okay, you should have done this. You may not say that, oh, that is very wrong. You say, okay, you should have done this better. You have done it this way. And then the communication begins to be better. So
Jazakallah khair. I love the fact that you referenced the hadith of Abu Dhar radiallahu anhu. That's a very beautiful hadith. The hadith of Dhar, where she was talking about different women coming together to describe their husbands. And this is a hadith which we too as men should study and learn, because it talks about so many traits of men which many of us possess and which one is the best. So I really love that you pointed us to that hadith. May Allah reward you abundantly. So while you were speaking also, you mentioned something that is also very important for us to touch. And that's, a lot of us as men, we believe that our sole responsibility is just to provide and to protect. So as such, we really don't care about the emotional cravings of our spouse, right? We believe that so long as we put food on the table, we provide a safe space, we pay the bills, we are good, our wives should be fine, right? Whereas there is a lot more to it for women, you know. And how can Muslim men create an environment whereby there will be emotional support readily available for their spouses? So that's the question.
So this also, you see, has to do with one's background, right? And I think parents have a huge impact on the way people deal with their spouses. There are people who cannot crack a joke with their wives.
Correct.
The way they want the home to operate is like a master-slave relationship.
Sheikh, not to cut you short, Sheikh. I just want to bring one point. They can't crack a joke with their wives, but they crack jokes with other women outside.
Yeah. So it's upbringing and the way they've sort of wired themselves. They're looking, a slave master relationship. I talk, you listen. Do the dishes, provide food, do my laundry. there is no interaction at all, unless when it has to do with what satisfies the man, right? For these people, they're going to have problems with a modern woman, right? A modern woman who has probably gone through the same educational system that we've gone through would want somebody who will probably come to our level, communicate with her, discuss with her, and stuff like this. So this is something that men would need to surmount and understand the fact, I did not marry a robot. I married a that I have to interact with. It's not a slave-master relationship. It's supposed to be a loving relationship of companions. Allah says, and place love and mercy between the two of you. So if one feels that, look, I'm too big I remember making a post on Facebook saying that, look, if you feel that Gen Z girls lack respect, in this part of the world, there's this sense of respect that, look, I am you. So if you feel this way, right, don't marry a girl from a background that, she wants to be free with you, because there will be problems. Some feel like, you must not call me my name, you must call me Brother Alaji.
Brother Alaji, bro. Oh yes sir, yes sir.
Oh yes sir. These are serious things. A person who feels that, look, must not call me my name as per the Yoruba culture, fine. Look for a woman who comes from that background.
Yes.
Don't go for a girl who believes that, no, I still recognize you as my husband, but I believe that you not have these boundaries that will not allow me be your friend and companion. So basically, what we just need to tell our men is that, look, you are in authority over your wives, right? Nobody would dispute that. No sane Muslim will dispute that, right? At the same time, it's supposed to be a loving, merciful relationship. The Prophet joke with his wives. The Prophet raised Aisha. They raised one. The Prophet had it in mind. They had a rematch. He won. He said, okay, the Prophet I give this, and it's very important. Habasha, people from present-day Ethiopia, we are having a play in the mosque. They were males. They were having a war dance in the mosque. And Aisha anha came to watch that display. Imagine a woman tell a brother that, look, where those birds are on a display, I want to watch. I mean, it's going to be, you want to do what? That is tabarruj. That is ikhtilat. That is, of course, right? Islam shielded her and only allowed her to peep at them. And he asked her, are you satisfied? Until she was satisfied, left. That was the type of husband the Prophet was. And now, brothers would ask you that, can we go? Can I take my wife out? What on earth are you? I'll take your wife out. Why should you? If the place of not haram is haram, if the sin is not haram, if what is happening there is not haram, why can't you take her out? So we have this over religionized. I don't know the word to use.
Over religiosity.
So I mean, be a friend to your wife and not a slave master. Allah.
Now, Jazakallah khair. I was reading this book about 5 love languages one time, and subhanallah, when I read all the love languages, I was surprised that all these things were embedded in the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Is it words of affirmation, gifts, service, everything the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did them, and that is why he is an excellent example for us.
Yeah, and this did not make him not assert his authority.
Exactly.
We're talking about being balanced. You are in authority over your wives.
Yes.
If you still can't assert your authority, you can't tell your wife, sit down there, and she would. Of course, with justification. Then you are still not doing what the Prophet Islam did. People, the wife understood him that, look, no, there are things you cannot do, right?
Yes.
These things you will not like. It doesn't need to raise his hand because you, by default, they understood who is boss in the home, right? So he expressed love. He showed it to them. At the same time, his authority was not sacrificed in any way or form. So we're being balanced in all of this.
Jazakallah khair. You see, Allah blessed us with the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam such that he's a complete example for us. His lifestyle was a lesson for us. Even we saw his wives even giving him hard time at some points too. There were times when his wives disagreed with him. When Umar radiallahu anhu was going to the place of Salama and telling her, or Hafsa and telling her, you guys argue with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Salama had to caution him, Umar, mind your business. This is our husband. That's to tell you how soft and gentle the Prophet ﷺ was with his wife. Or when one of the maids brought food to the house of Aisha radiallahu anha and Aisha struck it, the Prophet ﷺ did not say, Aisha, are you out of your mind? He said, this is your mother. She has been overpowered. So we as Muslim men need to understand our history. We need to understand the sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this attitude of we just boning our face or trying to be a hard guy in the house, it doesn't help at all. Jazakallah khair. Thank you for those beautiful insights.
One of the things you also see at times, a person, you mentioned it in person, outside there, you're very jovial, and you enter your home, and you become the godfather.
Yeah.
That's your authority, but in a loving and merciful way. Allah.
Jazakallah khair. So let me ask this question. There are some online statistics that tell us that 80% of women don't love their husbands, right? I saw this online some time ago, that they're just staying in the marriage to feel happy. I know you're really experienced when it comes to solving marital issues and you do counseling and all of that. How true is this? Could this be true for real?
Unless I look at the statistics myself and then I want to know the mechanism with which they arrived at that, right?
Okay.
I won't give value to it. What I can say, though, is that we have excessive divorce, right? I'm not going to put a value, a numerical value to it, but we do have problems with divorces. Right, from the people, not from my own angle alone, from people, and then people will listen to people who are actually involved in their community. We're not talking about somebody who's probably just on Facebook talking. Those ones are probably they are there in the cyberspace. People who have a presence in the community they are living in. When you talk to them, you tell them, look, the divorce rate is too much. I still remember having a discussion some days ago with Sheikh Lukman Idris, and he was saying the same thing. That look, we're having a lot of problems. We show that okay, there are a lot of problems, and we need to address those issues. As to women not being in love with their husbands and just staying there, it's a possibility. But I don't want to believe that this is the vast majority of women, right? I don't want to believe it's the vast majority. I think that there are happy marriages. Of course, marriages are not perfect. They're not. We are different individuals from different backgrounds come to live together as husband and wife. And then what's there is that if in at least we have more days of happiness than days of sadness, then of course we are fine. So the statistics it's not something I would take into consideration, but I believe that yes, we can do better in our marriages.
No, Jazakallah khair. Thank you for that. If you look at it in recent times, men have lost protective jealousy for their wives. So you see the women relate freely with the opposite gender. They post their images online. They appear publicly without the hijab, And people think this is dope or it's cool or it's a woke culture and there's nothing wrong with it. What advice do you have for men like this who act like simps?
Who act like simps? Okay. So there are two things. What I've realized is this: a lot of women who do stuff like this online, their husbands are not online. That's one thing that I've realized. A lot of women who would misbehave and there's nobody to caution them. Their husbands are not online, or their husbands don't know what is happening, or their husbands are probably not just the husbands they ought to be. And then there's a second one. So the ones there are some of us who make errors. And then you correct them. Then you try to adjust. So those ones are not a problem.
And some would even tell you, "Don't judge me."
Yeah. Now that is the one I want to touch on. Social media is still fairly recent, right? There are people who don't understand how this thing works. I saw a sister some days ago. I think my wife showed me. She had nails on. She does content. And she had nails on. And somebody was saying that you can't attach nails. Nails like this are haram. And she said, no, I understand that you can't attach nails. But these ones are not permanent. They are like rings. So I said, okay. She understood that, look, I'm not supposed to attach nails.
Yeah.
But what she did not understand is this, that you cannot deliberately beautify yourself for the public.
Yes.
Right? You can't also do this for the public. So an individual like this, she's not doing it from a place of mischief. Right? So don't go after her with hammer and thought. So what the person explanation.
Yeah.
There are who said, okay, but you guys appear and then you are telling us not to appear. Explain, okay, no, this is the differences and stuff like this. So there are people that are not mysterious. It's just because you don't understand the dynamics of social media and some of the rules that are attached to it. And there are people that are deliberately doing what they like. You cannot say anything to them. There's a niqab who comes to dance and music blaring, shakes her body and stuff like this. Even like this is wrong, but she's not somebody that is approachable. You talk to her, she doesn't care. Talk to her husband, she doesn't care. So we would need to be able to navigate between people who probably need a bit of nasiha and people that no, there's nothing we can do. Just leave her alone and warn people from Allah.
Naam, Jazakallah khair. Speaking about the niqabi, Sheikh, don't even be surprised that she might not even be a Muslimah. Because today, a lot of people, they use the niqab to do a lot of bad things, evil things. I've seen somebody who is not a Muslimah, she wears the niqab, she calls herself Eleha, and she speaks about idolatry practices. And she lies about Islam, yes. And she's not even a Muslimah at the end of the day. So those things, that's why social media is more of a facade. It's not a reality of people. Everybody's just trying to package themselves or sell their goods and services to who it entices. Just the same way we have the social media affairs who want to gain popularity. They want to take fear everybody and things like that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us better and grant us khair. So let's go to some of the hard talks, inshallah. In recent times, I've seen young men have disagreements with their wives, right? And they raise their hands against them. They justify this by making reference to the verse in Surah An-Nisa where Allah was talking about wadarbuhunna, right? For sure, we know conflict is inevitable in a marriage. So my question is, how can husbands navigate conflicts within the marriage in the right way, in line with the Islamic teachings? And can you also give us a proper context of that verse of the Quran for clarity?
Fadarbuhunna is usually a verse that a lot of people will misinterpret. There are people who would want it to be removed from the Quran because Islamophobes will latch onto it. And there are people who use it to justify nonsense. When Allah was saying Fadarbuhunna, there's a context to it. You're talking about a woman that you've preached to, you've tried to disassociate yourself from, and then everything is not working, and you feel that slightly hitting her would work. And that is why you see ulama talk about the implication of this hitting your wives. They'll tell you that we are not saying that you should punch her. It must be darbu ghair mubarrah. You can't hit her in such a way that her skin will be reddened or create a wound or break a bone. That's not what we're talking about, right? And it is said that it is not even the best because the Prophet ﷺ did not hit any of his wives.
Yes.
It's not found, right? So it is a verse that is in a specific context in which you are fairly certain that it would work, right? So if a woman is if you're going to hit your wife and she's going to stand with you to retaliate, then it's not permissible because ultimately it becomes a fight. Yes. And then you would have to you need to increase the force and then harm and damage her. If you hit your wife and break her bone or cause her injury, she goes to court, we implement the qisas on you. Right?
Yes.
So nothing says that because you are the husband of a woman, the rules of qisas do not apply to you. You harm you. Right?
No.
So this needs to be put into context, right? And then what is probably more important is it starts from your choice of a woman. Don't marry somebody who doesn't respect you. Don't marry somebody who feels that, look, you have to earn our respect. And this earning of respect thing needs to be emphasized. It doesn't mean that a woman comes to the marriage and says that, okay, you must do this thing before I respect you. You deal with your woman in such a way that she would naturally respect you. You are not stealing her money. You are responsible financially, providing what she needs. Human beings, look, even animals, you do good to them, you own them.
Correct. Yeah.
You do good to them, you own them. So if you do such to a human beings ordinarily will show gratitude.
Yes.
Right? And then if you're kind to there are women, of course, who there's nothing you can do.
Of course.
we are not talking about such. We're talking about normal, average human beings. So
Yes.
you earn the respect of your woman. There's nothing she will not do for you. She hates your anger, and you don't need to. If a woman is that way, why should you need to raise her hands over?
Correct.
In fact, the fact that you show the slightest frowning or that you raise your voice, she understands that no, I've done something bad. And we are not dumb. See that you are obeying the Sharia before you ask her to obey the Sharia. This is someone once told me, he said that if a preacher is outside and he's saying stuff, whether about marriages, whether about whatever he's saying, that his wife is there. He said, if you look at the face of his wife, you will know if, I think what his sister was saying there, you will know if he's being truthful or not. Because if you're saying stuff outside there, you're not doing the home, your wife's face will show that,
yeah.
Once your wife understand that you are bound by the Sharia, that your decisions, your do's and don'ts are guided by the Sharia. Now, in addressing her with that same Sharia, she understands that this is the way this man works. This is what determines his do's and don'ts. She wants to listen to what you want to say. But if you lack respect out of your if you lose respect out of your behavior or your childishness, then it's going to be difficult for you to be able to assert yourself until you start thinking of, I'm going to beat her. I don't understand how people find it convenient to beat their wife. Women are very, very weak creatures. The female body is not as like the male's body, and then you start punching your wife.
Subhanallah. Yeah, Jazakallah. It's crazy, and funny enough, subhanallah, even in the West, the women beat the men too, because they know they know if they beat the man will go to jail. But the reality is nobody has that right or authority to raise their hands against the other. This is very important. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for that response. So if you look at it today, Sheikh, we live in a day and time whereby we have flamboyant weddings, but we have less successful marriages, right? And it's grievous to see a lot of young people getting into marriages for the wrong reasons, right? You really find people today striving for Jannah together as a couple. We saw companions who aimed for this. Abu Salama and Umm Salama, they were lovebirds. They promised each other they wanted to be husband and wife in Jannah, But today, husbands are not even so concerned about the spiritual growth of their wives. Are there specific practices or rituals that you recommend for couples?
Basically, it's about, I mentioned it briefly in passing, that at times we didn't learn so much about the rules of marriage. That is why people talking about marriage is a positive thing, right? The people say that why are you talking about marriage all the time and stuff. Like, people talking about marriages and the rules governing marriages, I see it as a very positive thing, because we have a lack of discussion. I mean, throughout my stay in the institution, in the Polytechnic, I can't remember a lecture that was specifically made for couples. I can't. When we're getting married, of course, people don't know what to do in a marriage, right? So one thing we can do is to talk about it. What is required of a man? What is required of a woman? What is required of a marriage? How do we make it work? How do we solve our issues? So I think that if these things are done, right, we would be able to, because the average Muslim wants Jannah, right? The average Muslim wants Jannah. And if going to Jannah with one spouse is not adequately discussed also, one may not know the best way to do it, right? So we talk about these things. That what is required of me. The Muslim home is supposed to be built on taqwa. There should be instances where we have a study circle in the home, or a means with which we teach our families. If not, go to programs together. And I tell people this, look, I can go to programs together. At times somebody gets married and he feels that marriage is the apex of this religiosity. Some of our sisters who were memorizing Juzul Amma, Juz Tabarak, just Semi Allah, and then some other things like that, in the days in the University or the Polytechnic, immediately they get married, it seems that is the end of everything. No more lectures, no more preachings, no more, it just ends. And the way nature operates is this: if you are not adding to it, you are reducing.
Appreciating, exactly.
So if you saw the brothers that we were together was very passionate about the deen in those days, you realize that, oh, no, there is a clear-cut reduction in religiosity. Allah says, "Ya ladina amanu, ya ladina amanu taqullaha wa kunu ma'as-sadiqin." Allah, and stay with those who are truthful, those who are pious, because we rub off on ourselves. Allah.
Naam, Jazakallah khair. In the course of this conversation, you've mentioned about how it's important for us as men to respect our wives and show kindness to her, right? And I believe if you treat her as a queen, she would also treat you as a king as well. This is how it is, even from your speech, you emphasize that. But there is this kind of issue in recent time whereby some men complain about their wives. Some people are like, oh, she's too slow. She wastes a lot of time. The food is salty. She talks too much, So how can men of pure masculinity show respect and appreciation to the feminine qualities of their spouse?
Now, we should be frank also, right? If our wives do things that we do not like, we should let them know. we talked about Aisha anha and the issue of the I told her that you would have to replace it.
The dish, yes. True.
If our wives do something wrong, it is not masculinity to joke, well, let me just overlook it, I still love you. No. We don't like that type of love.
Even women too don't like weak men. That's a sign of weakness.
Exactly. Yeah. They don't want the simp.
True.
So you must be able to correct your wives. However, we need to understand that, and this is very important, that look, if you are feeling that she's this, she's that, you yourself have your lapses. If she's able to tell you your lapses, you understand that, so these are also my lapses. One of us just mentioned the fact that there was a brother who got married, and he was writing down the errors of his wife, noting them, until he couldn't take it again, and then he sat her down and explained that, look, you do this. The wife now told him that, have you finished? Say yes, okay. Now, keep it quiet. Me also, I have issues against you. Then she also listed in the she didn't really, because what she was saying were facts. So I also have my lapse. Yes, we have to correct her when she's wrong. But we also understand where we are all flawed human beings. One should not start marriage on the premise of I am marrying an angel. And this is one of the problems we have. You are not marrying an angel, you are marrying a human being. I don't believe that in marriage there should be zero conflict. No, we should have our disagreements. What it should not do is to go outside of the ordinary. It should not become something that is unsolvable, makes the marriage break down. But we should have a disagreement. There should be time for us to fight, and then we reconcile and move on. Stretches the bond of marriage as I'm concerned. So yes, we should be able to correct her. And another thing is this: if we should measure our reactions to issue. Okay, the food is too salty. Yes, we react to it or whatsoever. Now, on the basis of food, you explode like a volcano. But she's not praying. She didn't pray. That was point. She's slack with that. You overlook it and say, well, just say, well, look, make sure you do this. And no, that is when you're supposed to explode. And that's what I'm talking about respect. Let your wife know that your red lines are the religious ones. Not that, okay, your lines are she doesn't she cook late and stuff like that. Those should be they're supposed to be red lines that you explode on.
That's a beautiful one. I love the fact that you mentioned that the red lines should be the religious aspects of it. Every other thing, there are things we can overlook. There's nobody that is perfect. So Jazakallah khair for that beautiful one. Still on these issues of marital, social interactions and things like that. If you look at it in recent times, emotional intelligence is a buzzword today, right? But it will surprise you that a lot of people do not even know that our Prophet ﷺ was highly emotionally intelligent in numerous ways. And I'll give an example over 1,000 years ago. The Prophet ﷺ called his wife Aisha one day and told her, I know when you're happy with me and I know when you're sad with me. And they were like, how? She was like, how? He said, when you're happy with me, you say, Wallahi wa Rabbu Muhammad. And when you're sad with me, you say, Wallahi wa Rabbu Ibrahim. And Aisha affirmed, and she said, I just want to avoid your name at that time, right? So in what ways does emotional intelligence contribute to being an ideal Muslim husband? And how can we cultivate these as Muslim men?
One thing with our modern world, so let me adjust something. No problem. There's a bit of noise. So, you know, these things, when you talk about emotional intelligence, it's not something so special that it doesn't exist before, right? Mm-hmm. It's just that we have an expanded vocabulary these days. And then these are part of the problems, right? Mm-hmm. Our men are not being taught what I would call maturity, right? That is what I think, really, that it's about maturity and to be able to be responsible to the feelings of your spouse, right? So when we talk about emotional intelligence and stuff like this, it's something that we take cognizance of. So one of our sisters made a post, and I went through it, and I realized that this woman is speaking sense. It's one of the beauty of social media, right? Allows people to some of the things that you may not have access to, right? Another point is this. So for young men who were connected to older men in the community, they pick these things, or of course they'll be by the desk also, but they pick some of these things from these older men. This is not the way society is going now. We are more isolated, right? We are more interconnected with social media and stuff. So we do some of these things. So, but we can learn some of these things from people who are experienced. So going back to that sister's post, she said, at the end of the post, she said, men need to realize that they are marrying women. You didn't marry a man. You married me. And a woman has her peculiarities, right? And then she made some very good advices. She said, look, at times, give her pocket money. It may be as low as 1,000. They would appreciate it. Yeah. Right? Buy stuff for her. It may not, so if you buy something that's okay, this is for the house, for the children, she won't appreciate it as buying something even little and say this is
for you. Correct.
So I don't sit in the home with things that are very small, and she appreciates it. That is what we call emotional intelligence, knowing that, okay, and understand some of these things in the experience, understanding who the woman is. Understanding that when a woman is pregnant, she can make unreasonable demands, stuff like that. You are able to navigate all these things. These are what is essential. Being able to understand the feelings of your wife and then dealing with it accordingly. Of course, we talk about the very soft ones being emotionally available and stuff like that. And at times, it may be opposites. You may know your wife so much that you say, okay, if she does this, it's going to cause problems. So stop her from doing it. Right? But that's why you're the man. That is when people talk about emotional intelligence, talk about it from if it is women talking about it, talk about it from the angle of okay, just satisfying the wife. No, at times you do things that the man needs to know that okay, you've sat down, you are the man, you're not as emotional. And realize okay, who's into this thing? It's going to be negative, so don't do it. So why don't you want me to do it? No, don't worry, I just don't want to get involved in it. So these are the things that we do. Or take for instance, this part of the world, Yoruba culture, they're doing a particular thing in the family. They want her to come around. She wears jibab or she wears in the car, and then they're going to be telling her fetch water and stuff like this. It is not her responsibility. It's your as husband to be able to shield her from those things that would expose her to ridicule or expose her to conflict within your family space. So this is the emotional intelligence thing is things that a lot of men need to learn. So you have all this and stuff that's all out now.
Exactly. That's a beautiful point. And while you were speaking, it reminded me of one guy as well, somebody whom at a point his wife was fighting with one of their neighbors, and the wife was mad at him that he's not supporting her. And he was like, why should I fight my neighbor just because you are fighting with them? So you have to stand your point. You shouldn't say, oh, because you love her. Because sometimes women will guilt trip you. She could tell you don't love me. That's why. So it's very important as men to know how to strike a balance. That's leading to one next question. I'd like to ask, I had one friend one time, they had issues with his wife, and then he tried to consult his circle of wise men, right? And I was fortunate to be amidst them. So someone from that gathering shared a beautiful nugget while he was advising this guy. He said that never allow your wife know your weak link, right? For she will always use it to get you. I found that statement as profound. For instance, if your wife knows you're generous, right? She would always have needs to help you spend your money and save hers, right? So on the other hand, some men are just too hard unnecessarily, and they're too hard or harsh with their wife. So the question is, how can a Muslim man embody both strength and gentleness in his character? What role do these qualities play in establishing an ideal Muslim home?
Very easy. I talked about something the other day. I said, let Sharia be the red lines. This is in every other thing be good to her. For the red lines, let them be determined by the Sharia. Right? If of course it's good to them, they're good to them. The only time she sees your red eyes, she sees that you are angry, violates the Sharia, respect. After you've identified this, after you've raised this bar so high that the Sharia determines when I'm going to be angry with her, you can now start bringing some other things in. That, okay, I don't want her to do this. I don't want her to do this. And for God's sake, the don'ts should not be too much. Right? Some people, they feel that marriage is supposed to be a prison for the woman. That's the idea. So some will not allow her to communicate with her family, friends. Why
or even visit them?
Or visit them. Why friends have a negative impact on her? She's supposed to also socialize with people. For the family, particularly the parents, the Sharia is strict about that. You can't bar her from them. I think probably the Hanabila allow a little bit of restriction. But Malik is, they'll give you a time. Now look, within this period, she's supposed to be able to visit her children. Her
parents.
Cannot, you don't have the authority. So if you make the Sharia the red lines, another thing that I don't want to explain to her, and please, it's essential that we communicate with our wives. Very important. But look, I don't want this. Then it becomes, you don't need to, you won't, there will be, of course, we are not perfect. There won't be constant conflicts. Conflict may come once in a while because we are not perfect, we are not balanced all the time. But you have a clear map of how to deal with your spouse. So, okay. If she's not, the conflict I'm having with her, have you violated any rule of the Sharia? No. Soften your hardness. It's something that is going to harm me physically, financially. No. Soften it the more. Right? So it's about overlooking each other's faults. And this is what Prophet told us. Friendship, if you want to forcefully straighten them, you break her.
True.
Breaking her is divorce. Breaking her is divorce. So one just needs to be have an overall attitude of kindness. Right? Lay down boundaries that are Sharia boundaries. Then after that, lay down personal boundaries and make sure that your reactions to these vary in severity to what the woman is doing wrong. Not that you make the basis of relationship a terrible dictatorship that she herself as confined in a place, or what you're saying her to be in line with the Sharia, you are violating all the rules outside there. She's not going to submit. She's going to be there.
Jazakallah khair. Talking about submission, from your conclusion, a lot of women find it difficult to accept that word, submit. Sometimes they would even argue with you that we can only submit to Allah. So what does Islam really say, especially about women seeking the consent of their husband before taking decisions or before doing things, taking some actions? I've had several cases whereby it becomes a debate that a woman should let her husband know where she's going before she goes, or she should seek permission from him that she wants to do this and that. What does Islam say about this?
Of course, this will be elaborately discussed in the books of fiqh. I mean, number one, no woman should question the issue of submission. When I go to Nikas, I emphasize this, that women are to submit to their husbands. If you feel that you cannot submit to any man, don't marry. Marriage is a submission. Even in the Bible, even in our culture, right? you have to submit to the man.
Yeah.
And then that is why we said that it's not a submission that robs you of your freedom. And that's why I use the word benevolent dictatorship earlier on. That you also don't become tyrannical over your wife. So
Yes.
it's الرجال قوامون على النساء. The Quran is very explicit. لو كنت آمرا أحدا أن يسجد لأحد لأمرت المرأة أن تسجد لبعلها. Prophet was very explicit. You submit within the boundaries of your being a wife. So if you're going to go outside for something that you know is a distance in that culture that you find yourself, you have to seek the consent of your husband. You have to inform him that, look, I'm going this way. If you want to bring somebody into the home, that's your husband's home. You have to inform your husband. These are non-negotiables. Your husband is the Amir of the Bait. Amirul Bait is the Amir of the house. You have to find your way to submit to him. So, and then it's also that in an environment of feminism or women liberationism, which we need to emphasize this to our sisters. We will tell the men that you are not supposed to go beyond your boundaries in making life unbearable for your wives. But at the same time, we tell the woman that you are supposed to submit to your man. It is when he goes beyond the boundaries, and the Sharia will step in and stop him from going beyond his boundaries. Allah.
No, that's balance right there. That's beautifully said. Jazakallah khair. Let's be wrapping up, inshallah, soon. Maybe one or two more questions, Sheikh. Jazakallah khair for your time and your generosity. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you abundantly, bless you and increase you in wisdom, knowledge, and goodness. So if you've been listening to the podcast and you're enjoying this, please make a dua for the Sheikh. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase him in goodness and piety and reward him abundantly. So Sheikh, I guess from the days of our fathers, many believe parenting is the sole responsibility of mothers, right? That ideology still exists till today. Like, people just abandon their children, their mother is to take care of them. But I slightly disagree with that a little bit, because I believe parenting is two-way. Both the father and the mother have active roles to play in the effective development of the life of a child. So how can Muslim husbands actively engage in parenting and contribute to building a positive family while adhering to the teachings of Islamic values?
I mean, it would be wrong to say that women are supposed to take care of the parenting. You don't know. It's a dual. It's something that both parents must be. It's a dual responsibility. Both parents are responsible, right? And we even have secular study that shows that children from single parents, single parent raising kids, will predispose these children to a lot of social problems. That's in secular words. So no, parenting is both parties, right? The man and woman must be involved. If you're homeschooling your child, there should be a way you assess your children. If you're taking them to school, let them ask them questions, make them relevant. We don't want absentee fathers. It's not there. The woman is the only one raising the children. This thing is bad, right?
Yes.
But the father must be there. Provide direction, provide guidance, let them know that Islam is the ruling force in the home. This is very essential. Parenting is not a one-party thing. It's both of us. Allah.
SubhanAllah, that's very rampant in the West even. You see, there is really no much of a family structure. We just have things like baby father, baby mama. They don't really get married. You just know this woman is the mother of your child. And we also have absenteeism of fathers in the home. So you find out that most times, like you said, children who are most likely socially imbalanced or unstable, they come from single parent homes. And just like you were also speaking earlier, when a man is raised by a woman, it tells in his personality as an adult. So an emotionally unintelligent adult is a victim of emotionally unintelligent parenting methods as well too. So Jazakallah khair for that. Final question, inshallah. One last question from me will be this. There are some scenarios whereby the wife is more wealthy than the husband, or she's contributing to make ends meet in the family. SubhanAllah, I was at a women's conference one time. They even accused me. They said, brothers, these days, they don't look for women that they can take care of anymore. They're asking what is our bank account, what is our value, and things like that. I don't know how true that is, but I heard that in that conference. So these instances sometimes turn ugly, whereby the woman begins to feel pompous, rebellious, and even disrespectful. The man indirectly begins to feel like he's also losing his status as the leader and the head of household. So can you discuss briefly the concept of leadership in the house from the Islamic perspective, and how can husbands lead with compassion and humility? Because you see, especially in the West, men also are coming with this mentality of 50-50. So since my wife is working, let's share the bill, let's do this and that, and things like that. Please just tell us more about how to lead as a Muslim husband with compassion and humility.
This is why I think some of them I've touched on them during the course of our discussion, and I need to emphasize this. Number one, even if your wife is richer than you, do not. This is where I talked about respect. Do not allow her take care of responsibilities in the home. Even if you are the one, even if she's the owner of the home, make sure that you do not allow your wife have the feeling that she is the one financially taking care of the home. Buy stuff, work. If you need to work to do jobs, do it. It earns you the respect of your wife. Even you can be in such a way that you can allow her to contribute, but let her know that, look, I don't want your contribution unless you feel like doing it. The moment you show that you're really interested in a bank account or her money, then you are already losing your respect. You're losing it. And she wouldn't respect you because she doesn't understand that, okay, this one is what was the word?
He's a weak man.
to feed off her. To feed off her. So that's number one. Number two is the fact that don't go into destructive jealousy. Some men, realizing that their wives are richer than them, will try to ruin her. I've seen, some people are just plain evil or stupid. I've seen a man that if the wife buys anything, he would fight the wife to add his name. She buys a car, he will force the wife to put name, so it's co-owned. No, let your wife understand that I'm not interested in your property, I'm not interested in your house, I'm interested in doing my own thing. And women ready to support you. The wife of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, if I'm not mistaken, was richer than her. Richer than her.
Yes.
And he collected zakah from her.
Correct.
He collected zakah from her. So the men in this type of relationship ought to be wise. No. Do not let your wife know that you're only interested in her property. And it goes right from the beginning of the relationship. Don't marry her because you want to take a relationship. You may marry her because she's wealthy, right? Right? It's an advantage. But don't marry her because you feel that you want to be a parasite of her. Have your work, do your stuff. If she wants support, let her support. In fact, it's even more of a mafkhara, pride for you that she says, okay, Abu, I want to support with this. Okay, no, I don't want. Keep it. And you should understand that this is somebody who I respect so much. That is the way it ought to be.
Yes.
That's why she wants to respect you. And the funny thing is this, men who allow their women to pick the bills become lazier. They will not want to know she's there. Become lazier, become something like a bomb.
Subhanallah.
How we do it. So you don't do things like that. The more you strive, the more Allah blesses your effort. No worry, that Allah SWT bless our effort.
Ameen. Jazakallah khair. Adding more context to the story of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud that you shared, even if you remembered in that narration, even when the wife gave him, he said, no, he is not entitled to taking zakah from her. She should go and ask the Prophet ﷺ. And that was a good woman. She took herself to the house of the Prophet ﷺ and asked him, can I give my zakat to my husband? Subhanallah. So that is to tell us that it's just like you said, even if your wife is giving you, even if you need it or pretend you don't even need it. Because when you show that you really want it, it shows like you are just interested in our wealth. May Allah preserve you for good shape. That was a very beautiful response. Jazakallah khair. It's been a very interesting conversation. Let's wrap it up with any final thoughts from you. If there's something you want to touch on this conversation that maybe we're not able to touch it, or maybe I didn't ask, please go ahead, inshallah, before we close.
So I think basically marriage is not a complex thing. So I think marriage is not a complex thing. So I'm just making things complex. And how do we make it very simple? One, marry a woman you can manage. If you realize that marrying a particular woman will make her difficult to be controlled, don't go for her. Don't be swayed by the or the marry somebody you can control. Number two, get something doing. Right? Don't marry with nothing doing. If you get something doing, chances are Allah SWT bless. Naturally, people grow along the social ladder. They tend to grow.
Yes.
So even if it's a little, just continue, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. Make the Sharia what determines the red lines. Make the Sharia what determines the red lines. And then the last one, do not forget that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself said that the reason why we are marrying, the ingredient of marriage, you know, so the reason is al-mawaddah wa rahmah, love and mercy. And finally, understand that the Sharia does not encourage divorce. Understand that the Sharia does not encourage divorce. It wants for us to have loving relationship, enjoying relationship. As the Prophet ﷺ told Aisha and in the story of Abu Zar'i, said, "Ana laki ka Abi Zar'i." I am to you like Abu Zar'i in his generosity, in his patience, in his kindness to you. Illa anni la utaliku, with the exception that I will not divorce you, because you know that divorce is going to be a heartbreaker, right? We don't marry to divorce. We marry to sustain. We marry to sustain our families and have healthy children. That make it easy for us.
Ameen. Jazakallah khair. That was a beautiful summary to cap it up. You gave us very good action points. May Allah reward you abundantly. Jazakallah khair. So that's it on today's episode of Pure Masculinity. We've been speaking with Ustadh Kabir Nasir Al-Asfar. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve him for good and reward him abundantly. Jazakumullahu khairan. I hope and pray this episode is beneficial to every one of you. If you have really benefited, you can like and subscribe, and feel free to give us a rating or comment to if you have any feedback for us. Inshallah, we'll respond. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Whatever good we might have said is by the mercy of Allah. Whatever wrong we might have said is out of our ill understandings and whispers from shaitan. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to rate it from our memories and our books of deeds. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa sallim. Until next time, keep striving to be the best servant of Allah that you can be. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
ولن ترى عينك في الدنيا مثل سماء وتجري من تحتها